What I usually will do is I will show the portal that I use in mentoring, the Supply Jobs Canada portal.
Yeah.
That sounds good?
All good.
Okay. So you're welcome, guys. My name is Abiodun Oke. I'm the founder of Serial Project Services. Well, Serial Project Services is actually a business improvement consulting, business process outsourcing startup. So we provide services that relate to supply chain management, project management, ERP systems implementations, and all of that stuff. But we have a platform called Supply Jobs Canada portal, which we actually use in mentoring foreign trained professionals who are just coming into Canada and they are trying to get back into their career here in Canada. So a lot of resources are provided in that direction to help them. This platform helps them to have access to resources, especially in the area of job search. Also, there are some resources that are also there for specifically targeting supply chain managers, project managers, HR folks. So there are some channels that are created specifically for that. I'm gonna try to share it here so that you can see what I'm talking about. I think, you know, seeing is believing, I guess. So what they used to say. So here is it, Supply Jobs Canada workspace is a Slack-based platform. This is what it looks like. We have different channels, like I said earlier. If you just put in, you know, like the hashtag there, and you can see all sort of stuff that are here. Like I said earlier, you have one for SCM people. There is one where we provide job opportunities and all sorts of information. And then here is the announcement, which actually has our updates about what is going on within the community. For example, here now we are having this event here, the webinar. I posted it to the group, so everybody is able to see that. So this is a resource for us to also connect with experts in different areas, be project management, supply chain management. I think this month for this group, we are having actually in January, we had what we call the Innovation Month, where we are trying to explore all the different technologies that are disrupting the industry. So we actually set up like a focus group where we have some members who are volunteering to actually explore as a team how this is impacting the industry and how is it also impacting the future of our career, especially in project management and supply chain management. So these are the things that we're actually looking at. So today we have our Arvin Matharo, who is a business analyst, and he's going to be exploring with us the blockchain technologies, the industry use cases, particularly to help us understand how this technology works and what kind of applications you could actually use this technology to implement. So that is it for me. But Arvind, I will leave it to you to actually introduce yourself so you could provide more information to those who are in attendance. Over to you, Arvind.
Thank you very much, Abby.
You're welcome.
Okay. Welcome everybody who is online. My name is Arvind Pal Singh Matharu, and I have been working as IT professional for last 25 years. In that, I have played the role of business analyst, system analyst, programmer also, project manager. So those kind of different things. But the topic what we are going to talk about today, that is about blockchain, cryptocurrencies, or maybe it's use cases a little bit. So throughout the session, I won't be using a lot of technical language. It's more of the layman language so that, you know, even if somebody beginner is sitting here in this session, they can also get a good understanding of the topic. So like, you know, oh, I should mention that I wrote a book on cryptocurrencies 2 years ago. that was published by Business Expert Press. And somebody, I mean, a professor from Virginia University, he had approached me to write this book on because their financial management, that they wanted that kind of collection. And already I'm working on the second project now. That was done just last month only. I mean, done means I started on that just last month. So those two things are one. Another book is on blockchain use cases, and second one is about project management in agile environment. And the target date for those completion of those books is sometime end of this year. So I'm very excited about this thing. And in fact, I was looking forward to this session today. So Abby, you mentioned the word innovation, right? So now, see this blockchain, I will say this is a big innovation. It's many, many folds, multiple folds than internet, www, World Wide Web. So what is happening here is blockchain, where mostly people term this thing as a disruptive technology. About, I will say, in the year 2000, before that, or 1995 before that, there was all this e-commerce, what we see today, online news sites or Amazon or eBay, all the stores or the GPS systems or the ride-sharing applications. There was nothing like that about 25 years ago. So business used to operate in a different way. Consumers, they had different mindset. And at that time, all the big companies, they used to think, yeah, we are very big and we don't want we don't need our presence on internet. And the truth today is, if some business is not existing on internet, it's as good as they are not existing. That is my very strong opinion. And same thing for the profiles also. Let's say, some professional is there. LinkedIn is such a strong platform right now that every professional is there on LinkedIn. Anyways, coming back to the disruptive technology. So there was some time when the television was there, those big screens, heavy screens and all, but now those days are over. It's totally different world. And all those disruptive technologies have resulted into something better for the consumer, something better for the industries, businesses, operations. So it's a good thing in that way. In other words, I will say that whatever is the old way of doing the things is, that gets superseded, because then this kind of disruptive technology, it comes with superior attributes, and there are a lot of early adopters as well. So coming to the blockchain here, it's kind of very messed up topic here, because blockchain and cryptocurrencies, they go very hand in hand. So I might be using those words not interchangeably, but very in a mesh kind of way. So as such, when we say that, in the beginning I said that I'll be using only most of the time layman technology and not of very technical aspects. In that, what happens, this is my, again, strong opinion, where I say that blockchain, it's a new revolution after the internet. And why it is so? Because it's going to change how we do business today. .com era came, .com totally changed how the business operated, how the consumer saw the business. And same thing, we are already in the digital age. So obviously, the digital currency, that was already overdue. And so 2008 was a time when the Bitcoin, Satoshi, he came up with. Satoshi, nobody knows who is Satoshi. Is it one person or group of person or organization or whatever? Its origin is totally unknown. Anyways, let's name that someone named Satoshi. That person came up and he came up with the Bitcoin, he or she. And Bitcoin became such a big craze. About 3 years ago, I came to know about this thing. My friends in Calgary, they said, okay, Arvind, let's do some investment. And I had no idea what this Bitcoin and blockchain was at that time, 3 years ago. And already the prices were going high. Within 6 months, that friend, he literally laughed at us because we did not participate in this in his plan. And he showed us his balance also. Look at this, and he was already kind of 500,000 approaching. And I was still hesitant. My other friend in Calgary, he was also hesitant. We did not invest. We did not want to invest to like $10,000 or something. But now looking back at the things, we see that at least there are a lot of people who adopted those things at an early age, and they made benefit also. Why? Because a lot of big retailers, they are already accepting Bitcoin, and it's you can use that as a digital cash. So now in the blockchain here, let me let me talk about cryptocurrency a little bit here. So in this, I will say that cryptocurrency is the money of the future. Why? Because we are already digital era. In the digital era, digital currency was already overdue, and already 10 years passed, about 12 years actually, I will say. However, even if 10 years have gone, still not many people understand the basics of cryptocurrency and blockchain. And we would like to touch on that topic here. And it's very interesting. A lot of people, not only people, even the government, they don't recognize this thing right now. They have got they don't have very clear regulations around it. So in this, remember when the plastic money, when the credit cards came up, right? So credit cards, when those got introduced, a lot of people, they thought, what? Oh, we don't believe in the plastic cards. How can you use it for buying something? We just need the paper currency, bills, coins, and all that. Now, at least, I don't know about you guys on attending this session, but in my wallet, I don't have any paper currency. It's all plastic money there. All the credit cards, debit card, those kind of things. And I imagine that most of us, we are like that only. So the point here is there is always initial resistance. So that initial resistance, whoever overcomes that, that means they're already adapting to that new technology, and they're a little bit ahead of other people in that way. Now, why people don't go with these crypto or digital currencies? Because it's not tangible. It's not like, there is some physical form of this thing. And it's not printed on any government issued paper also. So anything which is not physical or tangible, people don't like to believe those kind of things. But that is what's happening now. I will give one little bit background of what is this about. Like, the basics of blockchain or digital currencies is cryptography. So what happens, there are two parties there. One is sender, another one is receiver. So sender sends a message. That message gets encrypted. That encrypted message goes through a channel, and that through that channel, that message is received by the receiver. The receiver decrypts the message, and the original message what was sent out, that gets received. So like that's a very simple way to explain this thing. But as such, cryptography itself is a big science, vast science in its own domain. Two words here, cryptocurrency, when we say it's more of cryptography and currency. So when I use this word, like when everybody uses this word, it's a digital currency which is controlled by cryptography. So I repeat here, cryptocurrency is a digital currency that is controlled by cryptography. And there's no inherent value. So inherent value means its value comes from people believing in it. Same thing like gold. Gold is rare, and people believe that, whoever is possessing gold, they can convert it, they can liquidate it, they have got good, they can convert it into cash as well. So it's all about belief here. Same thing like Canadian dollar. People believe in this currency, that's how this thing keeps moving around. And the government has got regulations around it. So people can use this bill to do transactions. I'm looking for some good definition here. Okay. So as such, that means whatever we are talking about till now, that's more of using the cryptography. That means using the encryption and decryption techniques. So we can always say that whatever cryptocurrency we are talking about is a digital asset, and it's not a printable form. It's more of a some memory address kind of thing. It reminds me of one story here when I don't know if it happened in Winnipeg or some other location, but somebody had invested in the digital currency, and that person stored the digital addresses in a USB drive. And in the summertime, that person did cleanup of the house, and all that stuff went into the garbage. And then in the garbage, that big pile. Now, when after some time in the winter time around November 2 years ago, that person came to know, like all of us, we know that the Bitcoin touched about $25,000 price per unit. And then that person realized, oh, I had some Bitcoins with me. So what happened to that? And he started looking for his USB drive. And then his family members told him that, we did the cleanup. So it already gone into the garbage side. So that rumor spread out, and a lot of people they flocked around that garbage pile, just looking for that USB drive. So that's the kind of value. Some people they don't understand the value of the digital addresses, and he lost all that big. I mean, millions of dollars. He said. How it started? So it's not something new, because a lot of people think that blockchain is something which came up, in 2008 or something. Actually, if you look at the history, there was already some research around 1990, and that was about digital stamps. So digital stamps means anything, whatever is created, especially for the transactions. There was a science that allowed to put the digital stamps so that something cannot be altered. People could use that as a contract, which is digitally signed or stamped. So that was a kind of origin. But that science just left it on its own. Nobody knew the application of those things at that time. And it took almost 20 years to understand, okay, maybe blockchain and digital currency can be used for this thing. And that's how Satoshi, he came up with Bitcoin at that time. Another thing which I like to mention is blockchain and Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. The relation between these two is more of when we say internet and email. So what an email is to internet, same way cryptocurrency is to blockchain. That is a vast potential we are talking about. So somebody can say, yes, it's the same thing. Email and internet is the same thing. That's the incorrect statement, because email is just one of the things which you can do out of those million things what internet can do, right? Same way, digital currency is just one of the things what blockchain can accomplish. So that's how such a big revolution is coming, and we are witnessing all those things. Hopefully within 20, 30 years, and I'm also alive, you're also living here, and we can see all those things happening. Now, there was some paper called Peer-to-Peer Electronic Cash System. So it was under the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. It was about Bitcoin. Like I said, nobody knows who is Satoshi Nakamoto, but anyways, that paper mentioned about creation and developing the original reference implementation. By that I mean, he came up with some kind of algorithm that how to create those things and how to keep on solving the further things, solve those mathematical problems and come up with the next Bitcoin. So as such, we have seen significant growth of cryptocurrencies since 2017. It's very risky, very volatile, and people think that it's a bubble. Even Warren Buffett, he also said that don't believe in these kind of things. But regardless of anything, these things are still happening, and there are more than 1,500 digital currencies as of today, more than that. And the best part is, if somebody, some programmer or entrepreneur, they have got that kind of mindset, you can, because all this code is available as a free source, you can create your own currency, digital currency. But you need to know what kind of parameters you need to have and how to market those things, what the developer group who is willing to support it and do the relevant stuff around it. So legally, it's under the radar of most of the countries. Not many people, not many countries that recognize it. But whatever way, still, it's happening here. Some countries even banned it actually. And I was looking at the CRA Canada website. They just say any benefit coming out of the digital currencies that should be reported, but there is no clear regulation around it. So it's not that these currencies are used for illegal purposes, although it started for that, for illegal activities under the dark web. But things have changed, and it's not linked with those kind of criminal activities and all. It has gone much beyond that profile. So as such, if we say that blockchain, that is the brainchild of Satoshi, like I mentioned just now. So there were two different words here, block and chain. But although in the beginning that was written as two different words, block space chain, but now it's combined as one word, which can be used as a noun or verb, blockchain or blockchained. So in this one, what is happening here, if I want to give you very concise definition of this thing, we can just say that it's a digital distributed ledger, which is available to thousands or millions of people at the same time. So I repeat, it's a digital distributed ledger. So when we say ledger, that means you can maintain the most of the information related to the transactions or anything unique. So that uniqueness I will touch upon a little bit in detail at the end of this session, because then we'll be talking about the use cases of blockchain, in what areas you can use. And literally you can use it for any purpose actually, whether it is for identity management or insurance or banking or finance or real estate or supply chain management or education or motor vehicles. Like name something and you can still use you can exploit the benefits of blockchain there. So why? Because it's a decentralized technology. So when we use the word decentralized, that means there's no central governing body for that. So let's take an example of banks, because banks are the governing body for the financial transactions. So they are governing all those things. The central bank, Reserve Bank, they govern the value of those currencies also. In the case of blockchain, there is no central governing body. So it's all people who come forward. They are maintaining, and there's something called consensus. If more than 50% of the network, they do the consensus, that means that block of information gets added to the existing blocks, and that's how the chain keeps on moving forward. I'll get into that detail a little bit in like 2-3 minutes. So in this, what happens, because just like I said, decentralized technology. So it's not only for the financial transactions. You can use it wherever any unique record you need. Already I mentioned some of the examples there. So coming to a little bit here, that when we say the digital ledger, it's available publicly. That means just consider this thing in very simple words. Some Excel spreadsheet. It's not Excel spreadsheet, but I'm just giving you an analogy for that. Consider this thing as a digital spreadsheet, Excel sheet, which is available on thousands of or tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands users connected on the same network. And all of them, they have got access to the same information, same ledger, and they can see what is happening on that on a almost live kind of basis. In the case of Bitcoin, it's a 10 minutes of delay, but a lot of new platforms which are coming up to delay as low as 10 seconds. So it's not instantaneous, but still 10 seconds is not very much in that way. And when we say these records, these are using in this shared ledger, they are using encryption and decryption. And also there is a time stamping there. There's a validation happening of the records which get added. There's a verification happening there and monitoring of the transactions. So all these things are happening in a decentralized manner. And when more than 50% of the network, they say that, yes, this transaction is genuine, then that gets added in the block. So one important thing what we understood just now, it's a public thing. It's a publicly available digital ledger available in the case of financial transaction. But depending on what kind of industry we want to use, you can name that digital ledger to that appropriate word there. So this blockchain has, so what we say, it's a growing list of records, and we call those blocks. And those blocks are linked using cryptography. So I used a few words here. First of all, the block is a collection of information, collection of the transactions, and all those blocks are linked using cryptography. And every block that has got a multitude of records inside there. So in the beginning, there is one block that is called Genesis block, the originating block. And based on that originating block, the rest of the next blocks, they keep on getting added. So in the case of Bitcoin, you can say every block that has got lots of transactions inside there, its size about 1 megabytes. As of 2 years ago, I saw the study that there were almost 500,000 blocks there. That means about 500,000 of megabytes data at that time. It must be much more than that, because the limited numbers are there. When we say the blocks, those are connected with each other. They are sitting on top of each other. Basically, they are connected with a hash. So hash, in the world of cryptography, we call hash something which is just like a digital fingerprint. Like we human beings, we have got our fingerprints. The cryptographic hash, that is like digital fingerprint. And every block has got its own unique digital fingerprint, just like human beings have own unique fingerprints. So now, if somebody goes for a plastic surgery and they try to change their fingerprint, yeah, that's very expensive, and there's a lot of overhead involved in that. Same way, in the world of cryptography also, if somebody wants to alter any digital fingerprint, it's not impossible, but it's very close to difficult, very close to impossible kind of thing. And some hackers, they still do those kind of things. But overall, in a normal environment, these things are still secure and not easily alterable. So that is what the importance of the blockchain happening here, because there's a mass collaboration by the users, and they authenticate the records there. And they make that kind of source database where it becomes almost unalterable. Like I said, it's not impossible. Hackers can still do it, but it's almost unalterable. There are still challenges related to the data integrity, security, but going forward, because it's still very embryo kind of stage, and going forward, there are a lot of security related measures, integrity related measures, those are getting in place. And I will say that the businesses who are already investing in this thing, in my eyes, that's a very wise move, because it's the same thing. 25 years ago, whoever got onto World Wide Web, internet, they already did a very good head start on their business, and they kept on moving further. So this open source code, anybody can use this thing. And how this is structured. So blockchain, like I said, is a chain of blocks, and a block has a block of batch of transactions. And every block has a header. There's a hash tree. In technical terms, if somebody technical person sitting here, it's called Merkle tree in cryptography. So what's happening there? It's a more of a tree structure, and block of data, those get combined. And there's a call, they are efficient because they use hashes. Hashes means the digital fingerprint there. And why blockchain is linking to cryptocurrency? Like I said, blockchain and cryptocurrency are related same way like internet and email. Blockchain can do thousands of more things than cryptocurrency only. And in that, what we say, all cryptocurrencies are blockchains, but all blockchains are not cryptocurrencies. Although they both of them, they go hand in hand. So in this, I'm trying to avoid a lot of technical discussion here, because I'm looking at the section which talks about encryption and decryption here. Public key, I will avoid that section here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Arvind. I've been following all those technical terms you're mentioning. I'm actually noting them down because I like to kind of give let's say, a summary of what you have said so far. You've basically you've talked a lot about the basics of the technology itself. This is what I get from what you have said so far. This is basically a digital distributed ledger. That is what blockchain is.
Yes.
Okay? And also the fact that there are some methodologies through which a trust kind of arrangement is created that makes this thing to really be of value, that everybody is now kind of investing into that because they know that value kind of increase I mean, the trust kind of increase in value. Is it correct to say that?
Yeah, because
I'm thinking, okay, why is it increasing in value? I guess that's kind of my first question in terms of the cryptocurrencies now.
Because a lot of people, they have started believing in it compared to what 10 years was happening.
Okay.
Right? So I will give you an example here. At that time, like almost in the beginning of when Bitcoin came up, there were some miners, Bitcoin miners, and they had almost 500 Bitcoins with them. And nobody was willing to, exchange for any cash for that. And they bought 2 pizzas with 500 Bitcoins. 2 pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then that was a big thing at that time, because even that was a kind of favor to them. Okay, have 2 pizzas, and that person got 500 coins from them. And look at the value today, 500 multiplied by, let's say, even if they encash at its peak value, 500 multiplied by $25,000. That was the value at that time.
It's interesting that the very first time I heard about Bitcoin, it was from a friend of mine, just like you were explaining earlier, who was talking about having some machine that is generating Bitcoins or whatever. I don't like, what is this guy talking about? So yeah, he kind of explained to us in a layman's way that it makes money, it generates some stuff, maybe these blocks of information you are talking about. And you know what? The part that wasn't really interesting to me is that it looks like he consumes a lot of electricity. That it becomes even inefficient to me. That's the way I saw it at that time. That didn't even make me put any attention into or pay any attention to it.
Right, because those are mathematical equations which the person has to solve, and you need the video cards and the very high processing power. And it's very interesting about that time when almost 10 years ago, there was one young boy, almost I will say 12, 13 years ago. 12, 13 years old, right in Winnipeg. And his father was kind of, very disheartened. He said, my son is not paying much attention to the studies and all. And he's always busy doing something in his home, in his room. And he wanted me to talk with his son. I went there. And he told me, yeah, uncle, this is about Bitcoin I'm doing. And I had no idea what this Bitcoin is. 10 years ago, he already got into that in Winnipeg.
Wow.
And yeah, so what he was doing, he was already mining inside his room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know whether he made some money or what he did. And now last year I asked him again that, okay, Jagbi, do you still do that thing? And he said, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. He totally
Wow.
washed away. Yeah. But there are a lot of people, a lot of kids who got into this thing. They understood those. And I feel, kind of left out. Even if
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
caught up on this thing 3 years ago, still it's okay.
Yeah, and talking about being feeling left out, I guess is that fear of missing out that is one of the reasons why we're trying to have this type of a seminar because what blockchain or cryptocurrency has been there for a long time now, as far as I can even remember myself the first time I heard about it. And I think in the industry, there's still some kind of apathy that people are not paying much attention to blockchains. Even so far in the supply chain profession, there's this discussion that it doesn't appear that blockchain really has much to contribute when it comes to supply chain. They sort of feel like it has a limited application in terms of supply chain management or in the
Because
industry
it's not well
generally.
understood. That's why. It is
Again?
not that well understood right now.
Okay, yeah. I guess that because as you were speaking about the areas of application, I kind of clicked for me because what we are really talking about here and now is when you look at cryptocurrencies where it is widely used now, there are a lot of different types of cryptocurrencies now which are basically public digital distributed ledgers is what I will call them right now,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are creating those and starting up something, a cryptocurrency themselves, getting support from different people. And by the way, Akon, I don't know if you know Akon, is an American musician, actually is creating one also for Africa.
Hmm. Okay.
So yeah, which is to me it looks like it's getting like a kind of a public acceptance, so to speak now. And I think if anybody even has anything, any idea, and they think that the cryptocurrency or I mean blockchain is going to play a very big role in it, I mean, this is the best time to actually look into that. As far as I'm concerned, too, I'm thinking, okay, where do I think I could apply blockchain? Maybe in supply chain somewhere or even in
I'll touch
professional
on that
development,
supply chain. Yeah,
you know?
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So,
that's very, very interesting.
so like I said, there could be any kind of application you can have. And because you mentioned about the supply chain, give me some time to think about some application here.
Yeah.
So, in any supply chain, let's say we have, um, um, let's take an example of the food, what we eat.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means food is coming from somewhere and it's getting processed or packaged or whatever that gets transported and then ultimately coming to the local store and we get it from there. So there's a chain of the different processes. A lot of people are involved in this thing. A lot of business operations are involved in this complete supply chain thing. Now in this, I will say that there is a lot of raw material which is there and factories are involved in there. They're creating the final products. And also there is a distribution network. That means they are delivering the things to the consumers. So I took the example of food here. All those things are basically, they have got we can assign some unique ID to each and every transaction happening there. We can say that all those things are as good as unique records. So that also means we can trace back right to the origin of that product.
Yeah.
Right? So that is the kind of thing here. So so when we talk about the supply chain management here, that means a lot of processes are involved in there, and we are executing all those different processes, and those are integrated. There's a very well planned integration of all those processes, and that's how the supply chain management that comes into picture. That also means there's a lot of material flow, there's a lot of information flow. Not only that, even a lot of financial transaction information flow as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right? So all those are unique informations, and that means we can maintain those things in the form of our digital ledger. So coming back to the point here of the blockchain. Right? So that in that, what happens, all the flow of goods or services or information or anything like that, whoever is involved in that, all those things, all the records can be maintained on that digital ledger. And we can say that that ledger is available to multiple people, to thousands of people who are going to validate the transaction, who are verifying. And once they say, yes, everything looks good to me, then that information gets attached in the block. And once one block has got some level of transactions in there, then multiple blocks get interlinked with each other. So it's very difficult to alter the information there, and one can trace back the things in a very secure way.
Yeah, so I'm thinking in this type of scenario, basically when it comes to goods like pharmaceutical goods, to be able to ascertain the source, to make sure that it's not a fake product, this could actually be applied, and I think some organizations are already using that,
Yeah,
using
that's a very good
blockchain in
example.
those things.
Yes,
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals, like, you can trace back to its all the constituent level, where the things are coming from, and what kind of processing took place on those things.
Yeah. So, Arvind, why don't we open it up to the attendees to see if they have any question at this point?
Sure. Yeah, please.
Okay. So, guys, if you are listening and you would like to ask a question,
I just want to add a little bit for the supply chain management and blockchain here. Is it okay?
Okay. Yeah. That works.
For a couple of minutes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Blockchain technology, when we use in the supply chain, that's a big thing here. And some companies, if they are catching up on those things, the benefits what they get, the benefit is like more of, it's an improved inventory management. Okay. So they're maintaining inventory there. They can improvise on those processes, and it's not governed by a central body. That means the hacking and those kind of problems, those reduce quite a bit. This also means that the fraud or those errors, those kind of things, those also get eliminated. Not eliminated, I will say maybe reduced actually compared to others.
Okay. So I didn't get that actually. You're talking about inventory management now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So because in the supply chain management also, they are maintaining some kind of inventory, right?
Yeah.
So that inventory, you can just put that on the digital distributed ledger.
Oh, I see.
So I'm like any unique record you can maintain on that distributed ledger.
Oh, I see.
To do the things. And now imagine all those big companies, they are having their own systems to maintain the things. Now it's all publicly available, and how the cost will get reduced. So all the cost will also come down, because and a lot of paperwork also gets down, and any issue, any kind of fraud issue, that also gets identified faster. So when these kind of things happen, that automatically means that whatever the consumer and the business, the trust level of those two parties increases. So that's a big benefit, I think, for any business.
Interesting. I'm gonna look into that, because I think the word out there is that there is not much of added value for supply chain. But I will look into this, because I'm actually hearing that for the first time about how you could apply this in the inventory management. Which
maybe after this session I'll share more information with you about this thing. There are some good books and links also where you can find more information.
Yeah, so I think we have Adibowale here now. So I have your speaker. You're able to talk now.
Thank you, Abiodun.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Okay, and thank you, Arvind.
Yeah, welcome.
I appreciate your time so much. Okay, I've for a long time, just do it as you mentioned. I've looked away from cryptocurrencies for a long time. I've got my friends in Nigeria talk about it, Bitcoins, yeah, and there, and all of that. But what has actually discouraged me for a long time, not being interested in it, basically because of fraud-related issue on internet and all of that. But I think this evening will be able to allay my fear about maybe it's more secure to an extent. But if one is to be able to be participant or operator in this, what would be your advice? How do we learn? How do one get into the mainstream of learning, be able to participate in it, be able to make benefit from it? What would you advise? A classroom thing or getting books to study? I mean, what way do we get educated more about this after this webinar?
Okay. In my eyes, if we don't understand how the cryptocurrencies work or operate, then we should not get into this thing. Why? Because it's all about the digital addresses, and even if we misplace those things, that means that money is lost. If you send the money, I mean Bitcoin money to someone, that money to wrong address, that cannot come back to you. So those kind of irreversibility is the problem there. So those kind of regulations are still not missing here. That's why people find these currencies very risky, and they don't want to invest in this thing. One reason is they don't understand this much, and another reason is because it's very volatile. Today the currency value maybe is, let's say 5,000, and another day it might be just $500. So who will invest in this kind of thing? It could be $10,000 next day. So if somebody has a surplus cash and they want to play around with these things, yeah, sure, well and good. At least I did not have $10,000 to invest. That's why I did not make that $500,000 what my other friend made. So I hope that that gave some insight into this thing.
Did I answer your question? I believe you're still able to talk. Hello?
Hello, did that answer your question, everybody?
Yeah, I believe that did, but maybe it's not able to talk anymore. So why don't we talk about some other so I think maybe the second part of his question has to do with if there is any type of education or any type of way to learn more about how to get involved or to invest in blockchains. I know for the most part people are familiar with the cryptocurrencies, and that's really what he is talking about. But if you also look on the blockchain side, beyond just cryptocurrencies, what are the other applications you could basically maybe invest in or get involved with? Did you get that, Alvin?
Sorry, I missed the last part, Abhi.
So I said a lot of the times people are always interested in the cryptocurrencies part because of course this is what is commonly talked about out there. And I got what he also mentioned about the fact that the cryptocurrencies being the popular one, the popular application, and there is a kind of I would say negative what language do I use here there now? It has some reputation, basically negative reputation about the way people are using it in the dark internet and stuff like that. And this is the reason why a lot of people didn't really want to know anything anymore about cryptocurrencies and then blockchains as a result as well.
Yeah, because all those are anonymous transactions and nobody wants to get into that. But going forward, if you come with the new new currencies, they are not that anonymous. So people can always trace back who is doing what. So that's the things are getting better now.
Yeah, that will make a lot of difference, I believe.
Yeah, because if you send some money to somebody and you cannot get it back because you have sent it by mistake. But going forward, there are a lot of other new measures are coming with which you can trace back where it was sent out and who was doing it.
No, nice. Yeah, that sounds like a good development. So we have yesterday.
That was a good one.
Question.
So good for now.
Yeah, good. Yeah, sounds good. Yesterday you have a question. I have your mic is open. You can talk.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
We've spoken so much about and we've spoken so much about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. What are the main security issues that would hinder people from actually moving forward with investing in cryptocurrency, and how do you discern a good one? Because there's a lot of cryptocurrencies out there. Some of them are fraudulent and some of them are actually real. So how would you be able to go about knowing which one to invest in?
Okay, so that's a very good question. Even I also got into this dilemma kind of situation where a lot of new currencies keep on coming, and those are kind of overnight. They come up with their offering. They make tens of $millions for themselves, but those are fraudulent, and they just vanish in overnight. So in my eyes, when I look at some cryptocurrency, I'm looking for the developer backing of that currency. When I say developer backing, that means how strong the forum is there, who is doing the mining, or who is doing the actual algorithm, how strong that is. If it is very simple algorithm which is to be solved by the miners, that means it will be obsolete very soon. And if it is like Bitcoin, which needs a lot of effort for even for one simple coin, that it is still going strong. The security issue what we are talking about here is because it's anonymous, because Bitcoin was very anonymous kind of transaction happening there. So nobody knew who is sending what. There was some money coming out from somewhere and going somewhere, and that I heard that was used for criminal activities.
Yes, it was.
Right. So those kind of things were the security issues at that time. Even at the government level also, nobody wants to get into those kind of situations. And people, because of the bad reputation, the Bitcoin was not widely used as at that time. But now, if Amazon is accepting it, or 1,500 retailers, they're accepting it, that means, even they have started accepting its, they have started believing in it, that yes, it is going to stay here. We understand there are security measures, but at least it's going to stay here and it's going to evolve. So we are at that stage right now. Who knows, within the next 10 years, all the government also, they start understanding this and they will come up with the regulations around it. Of course, like it has already captured 0.5% of total world's wealth by now. 0.5% is a big number compared to, like it might sound like very little number, but for the world level wealth, 0.5 is also still a big number. And the speed at which it's catching up further, that means if the banks today, they don't include, it's my strong opinion, if they don't include digital currency as additional measure of transaction, then I think they'll start losing on those things and their monopoly will start to fail. Again, like I said, it's my strong opinion.
Interesting. Yeah, that's yeah. Somebody also have a question here. When you were talking, actually before that, when you were talking about the need for the regulators to step in and for the banks to actually get involved here because there could be a revolution happening right under there, or right under them, and they're not doing anything about it. Before you know it, then it just totally disrupt everything. I guess that's why people normally call this type of innovation disruptive because it offsets what is the status quo. Basically, it offsets them. And the thing for those guys to do the industry right now, as we know it, maybe the banking industry, is to actually get involved. If the regulators need to be involved to make this something they need to get involved in, yeah, why not? So that would probably be an area that would be a threshold kind of for blockchain or cryptocurrencies, because once that happens, I don't know what will happen. It appears that the value is going to go even way up higher. So, and this is the reason why I feel like if it gets accepted, for me, it looks like it's going to get accepted, because some banks already are, having some programs that are really looking into maybe some applications in those areas.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah,
they have to invest in this thing. Otherwise, their monopoly will go down.
yeah, exactly. So there is a question here. I'm not sure if I got it, but apparently the person didn't put a name to it. How can small businesses take benefit of blockchain and cryptocurrency? To my understanding, it will increase the cost. I don't know if it will increase the cost of running a business or something. I don't know, but that's the question.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit when the internet, www, World Wide Web, that came up. That time, some small business, they might be thinking that, oh, why to create our own website? Why to create thousands of dollars to create website or create online store when I can do everything from my own local store, right? So that
Yeah.
kind of thinking, we can have the same kind of analogy here also, that yes, upfront it might be looking like they're adding cost to that business, but in the long term, don't forget that they are penetrating the worldwide market, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
on that note, I will say even like how this Walmart and other stores, if they don't exist on the internet or their online stores, I think their penetration in the market will be much lesser.
Yeah, I mean that is already happening between Amazon and Walmart, right?
Right. So that kind of competition is already there. If they start thinking that it's going to add to my cost, yes, in a short sight it adds to the cost, but in the long term, in the long run, it's going to expand the business wherever they want to.
Hmm, makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So I bet that's the last question. But in case anybody still have, if you still have a question, you could raise up your hand. I believe this one was the one by yesterday, the other time we should already talked, but I'm gonna lower our hand now. So, but we still have for 2 years, still have our hand raised, but we haven't been able to hear from her. Yeah, so that is it. Arvind, thanks so much for making this opportunity, this happen, for your availability to talk about blockchains and cryptocurrency. We really appreciate it.
Actually, I thank you, Abby. I thank you, Abby, for giving me opportunity to present this thing, and I appreciate the time spent by the attendees also. Really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. And you have a great weekend. I would say that that'll be it for now. We're looking forward to another webinar, hopefully to continue our discussions on innovations that are disrupting the industry. We're looking forward to having a session probably on in the Internet of Things, which is also another big one.
Oh, certainly, yes. That's a big one.